Welcome to episode 10 of the Master Plan series. Hard to believe, already on episode 10 here, we're continuing with the last two items on my list that are combined here, a sand cap level with a renovation to bluegrass, I've decided. So I mentioned that in the last one. So I'm gonna sand cap the front lawn here and seed it, and we'll see how that goes in this episode. Our midsummer weather is gone. We have fully transitioned to fall weather here, early fall weather. For those of you not in the upper Midwest of the United States, or not in the northern or I suppose southern hemisphere, far southern hemisphere, you don't necessarily understand that feeling in the pit of your stomach as winter is coming like a freight train down the tracks that you cannot avoid. I got to jam all this in now before the snow starts flying, which is coming up real quick here. So I need to get this lawn established in September here so that it can survive winter and protect that area from erosion. So let's see how it goes. In the front yard here, sprinkler system is in, working awesome. You can tell it's a little brown. I sprayed this off, and I've got my bluegrass seed. I'm ready to, so my plan is I'm gonna throw the seed down, then I'm gonna sand cap it and water it a couple times a day with the sprinkler system. And I think getting that seed, I like the idea of killing off the grass and leaving the grass provides a great erosion protection. I've got some slopes on the lawn, and when I seeded this thing first, that was one of the big things. You pray not to have a big rainstorm, because when you just have dirt, it'll make trenches, that water flowing, and just really messes with your level, creates bumps, all that sort of thing. So throughout time, because of that, when I first planted and throughout time, just heaving from frost and all that other stuff has made this bumpy, and I've lost my nice smooth lawn. So I'm gonna sand cap it for that, plus to try to get, I've got real heavy ground, try to get better drainage. The other thing here, the idea is I'm gonna put the seed down in the grass layer here. That will hold it very well. I'll put the sand on top of it and use my drag here to level it out. Normally I do not like using a drag with seed because I think it just piles it up in certain areas. Scrapes it off the high spots, dumps it on the low spots, and you don't get seed coverage. My theory with doing it this way, this grass, the dead grass that's still standing, will hold that seed in place. I'll put the sand on top of it, use the drag, but that seed won't get moved around. I've got no issue, I'm not going that thick on the sand, mostly the level, but that will provide some soil contact to the seed, which it needs to germinate. If it's just floating up there in the grass blades, it will never germinate, no matter how much water you put on it. So that sand's going to weight the grass blades down, force those seeds down into the soil. Plus, I'm going to have the sand on top, which is going to act like a soil, and then I'll keep that wet with watering. So we'll get things level, we'll improve drainage, and hopefully get good germination on our new bluegrass. Before I put the seed down, I'm going to use this drag behind the lawn tractor and run around a bit on where I trench, because it is not perfect. I just want to get that as level as I can before I get the sand on, just to make things as easy as possible there. So let's do it up. I'm at the local materials shop here, waiting on, you can see the pile of mason sand is right there. That's what I'm going to use to top dress Got a trailer behind me, so the big front end loader is going to give me a scoop in the trailer. And luckily this place is like 5 minutes from my house, so I can easily just run back and forth and get more sand if I need it, which I'm sure I'm going to need more than just one trailer full. So I'm at home here. I've got my load of sand, so decent amount in the trailer. I think it was just over 2,000 pounds. Probably not an ideal day to get sand because they weigh you, and it's rain today, so it's heavier than normal, but oh well, what are you going to do? So I've got a few low spots here from trenching that are pretty low. So my plan is to seed. You can see I sprayed this already. It's dying off. I sprayed it twice actually with Roundup, glyphosate. It's been a day since the second spray. Normally that stuff takes about a week or something to turn real crispy brown, but it's on its way out, I'm confident. So I'm gonna throw the new Kentucky bluegrass seed down after I fill in some of these very low spots. I don't want it under, 2-3 inches of sand. So I'm gonna fill in some of the very low spots, put the grass seed down, then cover it all with a layer, we'll see, maybe a 1/4 inch of sand, something like that. And then keep it wet, see what happens. I've never done this before. I don't see why it won't work, but it might be a disaster, but we'll never know if we don't try. So I'm gonna give that a go, do the renovation and sand cap in the same step, see if it works. This is the bluegrass seed I went with. All right, I have my Kentucky bluegrass seed in my spreader. I've hit the low spots with sand. I'm gonna cover this with this awesome bluegrass mix. See what happens. Cool. All right, we're starting on the sand cap. We got the seed spread out and the starter fertilizer. There we go. Getting this top dressing on. I'm maybe halfway done. I did 3 loads, so I'll probably need 5 to 6 trailer loads. It's about 1.5 tons each time. 2,500 pounds. It's just under $20 per load, so this might cost about $100 in sand, but I'm putting it on pretty thick, as you can see. If you were doing a normal top dressing, you would not want to do this. It would smother your grass, but since I want to get rid of the existing grass and I've already sprayed it, obviously it's only helping me there. So I've got 6 to 12 days until my bluegrass seed germinates. So yesterday I started this, so I figure I probably have 3 to 4 days realistically to finish this sand and drag it out without the risk of damaging any newly germinated bluegrass. So I've got a little bit of time there, but I want to get this done so I can start watering so that I do get germination, but I'll wait until I'm fully finished here. As you can see, I've got basically to the road out to do yet, but it's going okay. Just keep on keeping on. I guess I should tell you that check your sand load for snakes. Found this king cobra in there. Almost got me. I've officially turned my front yard into a bunker, a sand trap. It'd be good to practice golf. And I do that, but I don't have a lot of time. Time is precious. So I've got this thing covered pretty thick. Um, and I ran out for the day and the place is closed. So probably one more trailer full and I could get the rest of that covered out by the road, but I'm going to take a shot at pulling the drag behind the lawn tractor, see how far this goes. Maybe I'll have too much here. I don't know. I guess say I was going pretty aggressive on this, but we'll see how this drags out. I'm going to be using my drag I've built out of angle iron. I've got a separate video if you're interested in that, how to build a drag to level your lawn. I think I kept it 6 feet. And really there's a narrow part between this flower bed and the retaining wall there that I got to get through. So if I want 8 or 10, it wouldn't fit. So that's the story there. Let's see how this drag works. Just finished dragging this. I probably need half a trailer full to finish. Drug out pretty good. I had to do a lot by hand around the edges. I went a bit aggressive on the depth of my sand, so I was turning the sprinkler system on to wet this down overnight. So I drug it. You can see all the tire marks. Then I ran over it with the lawn tractor to pack it down a bit, which seemed to work okay. Now just need seed germination. Hopefully this stuff stays in place. All right, let's see what happens. I got another load of sand this morning and spread it on the front. I did not go as heavy this time, so I'm curious. I think this will spread out a lot quicker with the drags, but I'm gonna get that on the long tractor and get this spread out good. We got a couple inches of rain last night, which for us in this area is quite a bit. It came down pretty hard. And so I had some washing. That's always a risk when you're doing this. So there's a little bit there. I'll maybe be able to get on this tomorrow when it dries out. A little bit down the front there, see exposed some dirt. But overall, I was pleasantly surprised. And I think part of the reason for that is dragging it and having that existing grass in there provided some erosion protection by having those grass blades in there. So really what moved was the sand that was on top of that and obviously flowed downhill. But can't fight nature, folks. I was a little bit perturbed with it. Anytime you do something like this, you hope you get a little bit of rain, but not a lot. Obviously nature has other ideas and you just got to roll with it. So there's a little bit of cleanup, but have to live with it. Don't have any other choice. Still happy with how this is going. The big unknown is my bluegrass seed going to pop up through this layer of sand, because I put that down before the sand, and we will just have to wait and see. It's been 4 days, 3.5 days since I put that seed down. have another couple at least before the first seeds start to germinate. So probably another week before I can really tell what's gonna become of this. So we will see. It poured again last night. I think we got almost 4 inches of rain, which again for this area is not very common. Well, that was pretty much a worst case scenario for my sand cap. You can see here down the downslope, I've got a lot of sand piled up. Down on the low area, now I guess, you know, trying to level it, that would be ideal. It kind of flowed to the low spots. The problem is I need a natural area there. You can see I had a lot of erosion right in here. And I've been debating because I seeded this with bluegrass seed underneath. Do I try to fix this now or just leave it, let the grass grow up? And really I don't have any option but to try to fix this now, because once that grass grows up and roots into it, I'm not going to be able to do anything with it. So I may need to reseed. I placed my bets on not having big rainfall when this happened. Obviously I lost. Nature's sort of like the house. It seems like they always come out on top, and nature does too. So I'm learning my lesson here. Don't do this. Now I got to deal with the aftermath. So let's try to rake some of this up. I think that's what I'm gonna have to do, is just try to rake it up from the low spot and then maybe drag it again. I'm not gonna shovel it up. So let's see how this goes. Well, this really stinks. I can't put it any other way than a major setback. But again, in life, we have these all the time. It's what we decide to do after we're faced with this that matters. So I'm gonna have to grind it out here. I've been thinking about this sand and what to do all day. And I think I'm gonna use the transfer shovel and just shovel it from the high spot back from the low spot, which is now the high spots, back. Shovel it from down here back up to here. Try to get this trench filled in, and then come back with the drag behind the lawn tractor and spread it all out again. I guess that's the best. On a side note, kind of funny, when I was editing a previous video, I called this a transport shovel. I know that isn't right, but it's funny how you misspeak when you're trying to make these videos. So anyway, I know this is a transfer shovel. Funny stuff. Okay, let's see how this goes. Also, I've got my thermocell here. I don't know why I haven't been using this. The mosquitoes are bonkers. But these work pretty slick, so I'm gonna keep this with me out here so I do not get eaten alive. I just finished dragging behind the lawn tractor and it didn't go the greatest. It looks okay, but definitely not. Everything's wet. It's starting to bounce. So what I'm running into here is the turf I sprayed off to kill. The roots are starting to die, and the drag is picking at those and pulling up sod now. Then it's creating that, picking at that drag and causing it to bounce. So the time at which I can play with this is get rapidly over. It's been 7 days since I sprayed first, 5 days since I seeded with the bluegrass. So I'm running out of time there. I should be getting germination with the next couple days. So this is it. It's gonna have to be what it is. Lesson learned. If you're gonna put this much sand on, make sure you're not gonna get torrential downpours. Again, something we normally don't get, but I should have known better, but I didn't. So anyway, still learning. So I'm just gonna touch up the edges here with the rake, where the drag kind of makes things not perfect. Anyway, get that done and go inside, and this is gonna be what it is. I kind of feel like the Imperials, or whatever they're called in Spaceballs, when they're using the giant comb to comb the desert. All right, on another note, I can see why people do Zen gardens. I kind of want to keep going here and make the entire area nice and combed, but I think that's it for tonight. It's good enough. No, who am I kidding? I don't like it. I don't like it one bit, but it's gonna have to be what it is. Now we're on germination watch. Do you think my bluegrass seeds are gonna germinate or not? We will see. Adios. Good morning. It's the day after I spent an hour or so fixing this up last night. It's getting close to germination for my seed, so I'm worried about messing with it too much. And I can't make this stuff up. So I was bemoaning how much rain we got. And yesterday I fixed this because the forecast said no rain. About 10 o'clock last night, some thunderstorms popped up and it absolutely poured. So I'm out here this morning checking to see what happened. And again, same story, washed away. There's down there along the edging that it piled up. Let's see how much rain we got. That's 5.5 inches. That's redonkulous. I'm not sure what to do at this point besides just shake my head and chuckle. I don't know. The worst part here is where it flows down over my edging. If I don't touch that, if I don't do something with that, I won't be able to fix it once the grass grows up and locks that all in place. So I think I've got to get that down a bit. Of course, I had this all leveled out and nice. Looks like garbage again. This trench washed out. Looks like straight trash. I almost want to cry. Almost want to cry. Update. So I've got good and bad news. The bad news is it still looks like trash. The good news is I'm seeing new germination all over the place. So it's 6 days since I seeded this, and the sand and the amount of water and heat is ideal for germination. So I'm seeing that all over the place. The bad news is I don't want to kill all those. So I'm really stuck with what I can do. I fixed, kind of shoveled away all the buildup on the low side. It is far from perfect. I think what I'm gonna have to do is just use the small manual rake and just kind of try to smooth things out a little bit. I'm not gonna be able to move much. Just kind of smooth the rough edges. Here's a couple little germinations coming up. That's on a positive note. The negative is still looks like garbage. All right, we've got a germination update on our front lawn here. I see some bluegrass starting to come up. It is very different than what I'm used to seeing with the perennial ryegrass that's in the seed. You'll see that come up. It'll be pretty green. These almost look like alfalfa sprouts. They're very white, kind of stringy sprouts, and they're extremely difficult to show on camera here. All right, it's been 8 days since I seeded this. I'm trying to be patient. Everything I hear, bluegrass, you need to wait a couple weeks before you really start to see the results of that. So I do see some germination starting with just the sand here. Some reflections on what I've done here. Normally I would have covered this all with peat moss to keep it wet and to produce that seed to soil contact. Instead, what I've done here is laid the seed down, put the sand over the top, compacted that in place, leveled it, and kept that wet. I feel like I can get away with this because of the sprinkler system I have now. I can water multiple times a day, keeping this sand wet, and also our temperatures have really dropped. Now, I did have some significant erosion and movement problems with rain I was not expecting. Total, I think we got over 7 inches within a couple days. That is not typical for this region, but it happened. So I debated whether or not to start over completely and re-level all this. A couple things prevented me from doing that. One is my glyphosate application. I did 2 of them, did a really good job at killing the existing turf. I did a little bit of leveling. You can see that, I think, day 3 after the first rainstorm. What I noticed started to happen, the roots and the existing sod started to break down to the point where those were starting to get picked up, and clumps of that were releasing. And that makes leveling almost impossible. So I decided to stop on that. The other thing is after the second rainstorm, I just used a manual rake and touched up a few of the worst areas. I noticed I was picking out germinated bluegrass at that point. Now, I've also said our temperatures have really dropped here. It seems like we've gone directly from midsummer to a fall weather pattern. And I debated reseeding, re-leveling, and just starting from scratch. The trouble with that is I'm running out of heat and temperature to get a good germination before winter. So those of you that live in the northern Midwest or northern region of whatever country you're at, you can feel it in your soul, the freight train of winter coming, and you just can't fight it. So I'm decided to go with this. We'll see what happens, and I'll touch up the leveling and the sand cap after I get a nice new sod in here. So that's it. Now we're on germination watch. I'll update you with new videos as this comes in. We'll see how that goes. Adios.